Here we are in another lesson, and today we'll talk about a really important topic, a role we can't take for granted, which is that of the host, the person who will host our life group, our meeting, our group. This is the person who makes their home available for the group. Very often the host is the same person as the life leader, but in many ways it's very important that it can be another member of the group. This also helps encourage multiplication in the future because it creates an environment where it's easier to meet in places other than just the leader's home. Now, why is this role important? Think about it. When we read about hospitality in the Bible, it's one of the few new commandments that is given to us. In fact, in the New Testament, there are only a few direct commandments that are exclusive to the New Testament and are not taken, referenced, or translated from concepts already present in the Old Testament. And one of these concerns hospitality. In fact, the author of the letter to the Hebrews tells us, "Do not hold back in showing hospitality, because some of you, without knowing it, have entertained angels." Now, I don't know whom you host during the life group, but I can tell you this. In certain respects, the Bible emphasizes how important it is to make your home available. In fact, the first church was born right inside homes, so the Bible tells us in every way, at every moment, just how important this role is, even indirectly. And that's why we believe that the host should also meet a series of characteristics to make them the ideal person to host the life group. In fact, first of all, the host must be a mature believer. Why? Because it's only right that anyone who serves in this way within the life group who provides the environment should be someone consistent, who proves to be faithful, who is present in church, and someone we can rely on. In fact, for someone who makes their home available, we expect them to be present at least every week, so it definitely can't be someone who is inconsistently present or someone we can't really trust. Another important thing is that they are practically available. What do I mean by that? The house they offer, the environment they provide, how many people can it host? 10, 100, 20? I don't know what their availability is, but it's important that we carefully do these calculations because a very small house where only 5 people can fit standing up, packed like sardines, definitely isn't the best environment for the host. So maybe the person is fantastic, very willing, but the environment isn't the best for welcoming new people who will arrive, because let's remember the purpose of the life group is to make sure that newcomers can feel like they belong to the environment, the place, and the group. Another important thing is the spirit of service. Offering your home is not easy. For a long time, I made my home available for the groups I hosted, and I realized that you need to have an attitude of service, of being willing to serve others, to support them, to make your space available, and also to take on responsibility because you are hosting many different people who sometimes might not have the usual manners or the kind of upbringing we are used to. After this, another very important thing is that the person must be submitted to the vision. Why is that? Because they are making themselves available for the church and for the role it wants to have in our city, in our area. So they absolutely must be someone who is aligned with the vision of the church and with the vision of the life group of multiplication. So how can we prepare an effective environment for our life group? Let's imagine this. We walk into a house and it's all dirty, messy, the atmosphere is unpleasant, poorly lit, and the food is just thrown together carelessly. Well, that's not the kind of environment that would personally make me want to come back. That's why we need to create an environment that is comfortable, pleasant, and welcoming. And in this, it's not just up to the host to do everything. Obviously, the other members of the life group should participate as well. In fact, I think this is a very important piece of advice. When you find a host, someone who offers their home, it's important to also assign roles for more practical tasks like cleaning, taking out the trash, preparing the space, setting things up. Because even if the host is an extremely accommodating person, as is often the case since they're already offering their home, putting all the burden on one person is counterproductive. First, because it can tire out the host, and secondly, it can be discouraging. Someone who might consider offering their home in the future could see this and think, wow, if this is the level of commitment required to host a life event, I'd think twice about it. So, creating an efficient division of roles also allows everyone to experience the life event more lightly and ensures that the environment is respected and appreciated more by everyone. How can you prepare the environment effectively? Simply by starting with the basics, just by cleaning and keeping it tidy. Carefully choose how to arrange the space, clean up, organize things that are out of place, set the chairs properly, turn on some lights, and make the environment as comfortable and welcoming as possible. And in fact, it's also important to simply think about the seating arrangements. If we have very uncomfortable chairs or if they're arranged in a very random way that doesn't allow for effective interaction, then we're going to have a lot of trouble. Let me give you a personal example. I go to a life group where the host doesn't have a very large room. In fact, the room is not spacious at all. And we found it really uncomfortable to have the dining table in the middle of the room, which was already small, so we all had to squeeze around it. And since we're a bit close-knit within the group, it wasn't a very comfortable environment, especially for those coming for the first time. That's why we decided to get rid of the table, basically to eat and have dinner without a table, so that we could have a larger space where we could see each other's faces better, look at each other more easily while sharing and talking, and create a friendlier environment where we could be more social with one another. Another important thing is the lighting. If we walk into a room and it's completely dark, it scares us. We might think it's, I don't know, a seance. But that's not the purpose of life. That's not the purpose of the group. The purpose of the group isn't to frighten, but rather to make it welcoming and warm in the best possible way, as I've already mentioned several times. That's why we also need to be practical when it comes to temperature. It shouldn't be cold, people shouldn't be freezing. No one should have to come in wearing a heavy coat like they did outside, only to stay inside dressed as if they were in the mountains. In the same way, practical things like offering a coffee, some water, or anything else that can meet the needs of the people present are important too. Because let's remember, the sole and exclusive focus of the life group is the people, making this group, this moment, one of the best parts of the entire week. In fact, I think there is no greater victory for a leader, for a host, than when people start saying, "This is my favorite moment of the whole week. I couldn't wait to have this time with you." And I believe that this situation, this context, this role also make it possible for people to say something like that about our group.